Hello everyone, this is Mahadeva, Thunder Wizard. And today I'm going to continue reading my book, Thunder Shamanism. So this is going to be the second installment of that. And then if there are people online, I will be happy to entertain some question and answer. Sorry, I'm drinking my protein drink over here, so if I get a chocolate mustache like a 4-year-old, that's why. All right, I'm not looking very put together here, am I? All right, so let's continue. So I started with the introduction, 11 pages worth of stuff. Don't really remember what I said. Remember, this was a while ago that I was putting this together, and as I said, in the first installment of this, as I said, this book is kind of really the heart of what I wanted to teach. A lot of the other stuff in the other books before this one was really to help people achieve the mindset that I wanted them to achieve, so that they could be open to really being able to comprehend and absorb the stuff I'm going to present in this book, which is really coming together and syncretizing knowledge that has been found all over the world. And the one thing that I find very interesting is that if you look at shamanic traditions that have an unbroken connection into prehistory in all over the world, you'll find that there are undeniable similarities, which tells me that this is a science. I don't do this if I didn't think this was a science, meaning that this was a body of knowledge that followed, rules like any other science, like physics or mathematics or, anything else, I wouldn't do it. And so this book was really about bringing together all of those findings that shamans all over the world have found, who independently found how the universe works through trial and error. And again, shamanism, using that word shamanism, is about practical spirituality that has a practical value in your real life. And one of the things that is a part of human life is energy. So that's what shamans focus on, that they're energy scientists. Okay, so that's where we're coming from with this. So let's continue. So now I'm starting on page 12, at least in my PDF version. And we're starting with the chapter called Thunder Shamans. There are all kinds of shamans: healers, mystics, poets, warriors, sorcerers, etc. There is a very specific kind of shaman who has been called to act as a source of cleansing and evolution. In some cultures, these types of shamans are known for their affinity with the forces of thunder and lightning. This is the kind of shamanism in which I have been trained by my Taoist teachers. And as a result, I have since focused primarily on the thunder path. It is my desire to share this thunder path with others who feel a call to participate in cleansing and healing our modern world from the stagnation and destructive effects of modern materialistic, separatist, dualistic thought upon our world. Sorry, I got distracted. This is the call of the Thunder Shaman, and it is what I share with you here in this book. This book is meant to be an introduction into a lifelong practice of cleansing, healing, and spiritual evolution, which can hopefully be part of the huge energetic shift which has already begun in our solar system. The nature of this energetic shift has already been felt by spiritual workers of all kinds. The actual existence of this shift is not in question. What is in question is whether or not human society will survive this shift. It is certain that those who hold on to the old ways of dualistic thinking will experience major challenges. Those who allow their thinking and actions to adapt to this new holographic model of existence will prosper and evolve. The challenge for humans is that it is in our nature to perpetuate models of living and thinking which have served us in the past. So it is very understandable that some people are stubbornly clutching to what they and their parents have known. But this new spiritual shift that is arriving requires a change in worldview that is aligned with many prehistoric modes of thought. We are being called to awaken the old ways, while also innovating and evolving new understandings of spirit. The result is a streamlined, more concentrated approach to ancient ideas. The challenge of the Thunder Shaman is to act as a conduit of the cleansing power of thunder and lightning, to help clear away the stagnant energies of the past epoch and help usher humans into this new shift of existence. This shift has arrived, and it is up to us to evolve or go the way of the dinosaur. The Thunder Shaman is the adventurer who acts upon the doorman, who acts as the doorman to this new dimension. She opens the doorway to infinity, allowing others to walk through safely. It is my particular calling to uncover the essential aspects of energy work and shamanic spiritual science found in traditional spiritual disciplines and distill the most efficient and necessary elements of these practices into a universally applicable practice for the modern Western shaman. The Thunder Wheel. The main tool I will focus on in this book is what I call the Thunder Wheel. It is an 8-sided shamanic direction wheel which is used as an energetic compass to orient the shaman to the forces, energies, and spirits associated with the 9 dimensions of the shamanic tree of life, or the world tree. So we do actually have something here that I can show you in terms of a thunder wheel. There's also a rune wheel. Let's see, that's not it, is it? No. Here it is, thunder wheel. All right, so there is a thunder wheel that I constructed way back when I was living in Idaho, and this was in my front yard, which had yet to be seeded with grass, and so I went out there and created this thunder wheel. So it's just real simple. It's an 8-spoked wheel, and they are aligned in each of the directions. In this case, it is we're facing north, so the top would be north. The Taoists use the Bagua, which is the same thing, and they have it aligned differently. When you look at pictures of the Bagua, the south will be at the top. And I don't know if I mentioned why that is, but there's a reason for that. But in any case, when I use the thunder wheel, I use the north as the top when we put it in 2-dimensional form like that. All right, so let's continue. What was revolutionary for me to discover was the universal applications of the thunder wheel in every indigenous spiritual practice that I researched, which retained an unbroken connection to their prehistory. I found that after I had interpreted the various cultural and mythological symbolism connected to each of the 8 directions on the shamanic direction wheel, that the understanding of the fundamental energies of each direction was identical in each cultural tradition. In regional spiritual practices ranging from Iceland to southern China that utilized the 8-limbed shamanic direction wheel, there existed a universally applicable spiritual science of life force energy that transcended time, distance, language, culture, and mythology. As interesting as all this is, it is not as important to me as the fact that, in my personal experience, the techniques associated with summoning the powers of the 8 directions worked. I have gone to great lengths to reveal my understanding that the powers of the 8 directions were used by many indigenous spiritual traditions, but what I have perhaps understressed is the fact that this is a powerful and effective spiritual science. This stuff really works. Purpose. The main goal of this book is to introduce the reader to the underlying theory, concepts, and practices of the shamanic thunder wheel. After reading this book, you will have the necessary tools to understand the mindset of our shamanic ancestors and apply it to our modern world. For those who feel the calling of the thunder shaman, they will have the necessary understanding and tools to pursue the advanced practices of thunder shamanism, which I will share in upcoming materials, books, instructional DVDs, etc. Related to in-depth techniques for each of the 9 spiritual dimensions of the shamanic world tree. Okay, so enough talking, let's get to work. The thunder wheel. In this book, we are going to focus mainly on the 8-limbed shamanic direction wheel, which I am calling the thunder wheel. In thunder shamanism, the thunder wheel acts as a compass and also a gateway through which life force energy can flow, be channeled, and directed for spiritual purposes. And then I show the picture that you have in front of you there, and then I have another picture which I didn't bother to bring in for this, but it shows a Bronze Age 8-sided stone circle with big stone monoliths. Actually, they look like they're probably waist high. But you can see that they're quite old because trees have sprouted up in the middle of the circle there. So that was in Germany. So I thought that was really interesting that Bronze Age 8-sided stone circle in Germany would be there. So that's why I showed that picture. Anyways, you have to read the book. By the way, before I go any further, the whole point of everything here is to read the books, do the work. Coming and listening to me talk is great, and I want everybody possible to come and listen to me and watch my videos, but really the whole point of this channel is to get you to the materials, to get you to do the work. So that's really where all the learning is going to come from. And most of your questions will be answered just by doing the work. All right, let's continue. It is my contention that the 8-sided direction wheel is a shamanic tool that has been used by humans since perhaps Paleolithic times. The use of these types of wheels have been documented all over the world. Some noticeable examples are Native American sacred hoops or medicine wheels, as well as Stonehenge and other sacred stone circles that are found all over Northern Europe dating back to the Neolithic period. Viking explorers often wore bronze sun wheel brooches on their cloaks. Interestingly enough, native Hopi tradition teaches that pre-Columbian Hopi shamans knew that European explorers would eventually arrive in the Americas, and if the Europeans wore a cross within a circle, that meant they would remember their shared spiritual connection with Native Americans. But if the Europeans wore crosses with no circle, then that would indicate that Europeans had forgotten their true spiritual heritage and would bring disaster to Native Americans. As it happened, the first European explorers wore the Christian cross, which is the cross with no circle, and we all know what happened after that. One can only imagine if Europe had not abandoned her indigenous spiritual values, if perhaps Norse pagan explorers wearing the bronze sun wheel would have been the first Europeans to contact the Native Americans, and how differently things may have unfolded. We'll never know. And then I have pictures of Bronze Age sun wheel brooches. Anyway, I don't have that picture either. The more we discover about our pre-Christian European past, the more we discover more and more about our intimate spiritual connection with various forms of the wheel. The 8-limbed wheel is still used to this day in various indigenous spiritual disciplines which retain their prehistoric connections. So then I have the thunder wheel and the directions. So as I said, if you look at the picture on your screen there, north is at the top, so you would start at the center and you would go clockwise, north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, northwest. So you can just imagine where the directions are. Each of the 8 directions projects a particular vibration of life force energy which is transmitted into the center of the wheel. The center represents manifested physical reality where all humans reside. The 8 directions plus the center equals the number 9. This is the number of spiritual dimensions or worlds associated with the shamanic world tree or the tree of life. The number 9. The most widespread model of the shamanic world tree in various indigenous traditions contains 9 branches or 9 worlds. Coincidentally, the human body has 9 chakras. Most people are familiar with the 7 main chakras associated with Vedic Hindu yogic mysticism, but in esoteric yogic sciences, there's actually 9 chakras. Taoist mysticism ascribes 9 main energetic points on the trunk of the body, which correspond approximately to the 9 chakras in esoteric yogic mysticism. In popular neo-shamanism that focuses on visionary journeys, there are 3 worlds of upper, middle, and lower, which correspond respectively with superconscious, conscious, and subconscious realms. This type of neo-shamanism that uses hypnotic drums to facilitate visionary journeying is based largely on traditional Siberian shamanism, or also known as Tengerism. However, it is not as well known that in the Tengerist cosmology, there are actually 9 branches on the world tree, not just the 3 worlds of neo-shamanism. According to one source I discovered, Siberian shamans during initiation would climb a tree while simultaneously in a hypnotic visionary state, imagining themselves climbing up through all 9 branches of the world tree. After reaching the final branch, the initiate would literally fall from the tree and be caught by assistants below. The actual fall from the tree symbolized the shaman falling into the shamanic spiritual reality, thereby enabling him to enter the spiritual realm at will. That was actually a video I saw on YouTube. You might be able to find it. But it shows a Siberian shaman, and he's crazed and in a trance, and he's running around, and their assistants, making sure he doesn't do something stupid, because they know he's in trance. And he finds a tree, and he very rapidly climbs up this tree, and then they're waiting for him with a blanket. So they're holding out a blanket for him underneath. And then when he gets to the top, then he lets go and he falls back. And so it's him, that's when he falls out of the tree, that's his final initiation, and he has now become a shaman. So whatever's going on with him, in his visionary state, that his experience is that he's fallen into, whatever it is, his power. All right, let's continue. As with the Siberian world tree, there are 9 worlds or spiritual dimensions on the pre-Christian Norse world tree. In Norse mythology, the god Odin, fury of self-awareness, hangs himself on the trunk of the world tree for 9 nights and receives complete enlightenment, or self-awareness. At the end of his 9-day ordeal, Odin is given a vision of the runes, which means spiritual mysteries. And like the Siberian example, Odin falls from the tree after receiving his vision. The result of his shamanic initiation earns him the title of All-Father and is recognized as leader of the celestial gods. These 9 spiritual dimensions of the direction wheel carry specific energies which are mirrored in the 9 main energetic points or chakras of the body. The human body can be seen as a microcosm of the infinite cosmos. Simultaneously, the 9 points of the human body can be seen as 9 points of reception and accumulation, where the vibrations of the 9 spiritual dimensions are stored and projected from the human body. As I mentioned in the introduction, according to my research, while different cultures use different symbolism for each of the 8 directions, once the symbolic meanings have been decoded and translated, we find that in many ancient traditions the qualities of each direction are the same. Here are some of the possible universal interpretations of the qualities of each of the 9 worlds and directions of the thunder wheel as found in multiple indigenous spiritual traditions. The 9 worlds. 1. North, the waters of life. Water element, waters of life, waters of creation, nurturing, the planet Mercury, unmanifested potential, mists of creation, the void, conception of life, the base chakra. 2. The northeast, the fort of the gods. Highest ether, highest heaven, realm of the celestial gods, the planet Jupiter, morals, integrity, worship, dharma, spiritual but not religious, temples, sacred space, altars, universality, neutrality, pacifism, life purpose, the superconscious, the crown chakra. Number 3, east. Thunder or life force. Ether element, thunder, lightning, thunder gods, primordial giants, laws of physics, trolls, the sun, life force energy, physical power, the soul, protection from evil, individuality, ego, the sexual chakra. 4. Southeast, home of magical powers. The human mind, mental powers, magic, ritual, talismans, writing, prayer, mantras, charms, spells. Dwarves, emotions, internal spiritual fire, Kundalini, the planet Venus, manifestation of intention, the subconscious, third eye chakra. 5th, south, realm of primordial fire. The fire element, destruction, transformation, success, emotional and artistic expression, entropy, spontaneity, the planet Mars, domination, war, death, navel chakra. 6. Southwest, the underworld. Hell, reincarnation, karmic attachments, karmic debts, web of weird, past lives, limbo, shamanic journeys, immediate ethnic ancestors, north node of the moon, demon possession, nightmares, unfulfilled desires, lasting effects of spoken words, the unconscious, the tongue, and mouth meridian. Yes, the mouth is a powerful meridian or chakra. Number 7, west, land of plenty. The air element, experience, fertility gods, nature spirits, sprites, fairies, time, the ocean, law, karmic justice, meditation, psychic power, shapeshifting, astral travel, solar plexus, the planet Saturn, patience, old age, wisdom, the solar plexus chakra, not to be confused with the heart or the navel. I say that because when, some people don't know what the solar plexus is, and people touch the navel and think it's the solar plexus. Solar plexus is right here where the ribs come. So it's not the navel, but it's right just beneath where the ribs come together. It's not the heart, it's not the navel, it's right there. It's a very powerful point. Number 8, northwest, gateway to infinity. Clouds, ascended masters, mentorship, Akashic records, spiritual mastery, teaching, the moon, divine speech, prophecy, channeling of higher voices, near-death out-of-body travels, ancient or original ancestors, elves, higher self, ultimate enlightenment, spiritual liberation from incarnation, throat chakra. And 9th, finally, we have the center or earth. Earth element, manifested reality, three-dimensional existence, Middle Earth, plants, animals, soil, food, grounding, gravity, the planet Earth, and the heart chakra. The number 9 is widely recognized in both modern and ancient spiritual paths as being the number of completion, transformation. There is no accident that the world tree, the human body, and the shamanic direction wheel all culminate in the number 9. And then, of course, you can't see this, but I have a picture of a 13th century 8-limbed sun wheel in the temple of Konark in Orissa, India. All right, so there's the end of that chapter. There's a couple of questions, so maybe I'll take those. And again, I really appreciate questions that are directed to whatever it is I'm talking about. So that's why it's best to wait, listen to me read and share, and then you'll have a better idea. But I'll check and see if these questions are applicable, and if so, I'll answer them. All right, Scuba Gamer question. Is your lockdown package permanently accessible once purchased? Yes. And how is the Aruda Lugna assessed given your schedule? It's not anymore. If you go onto the page, you'll see that those things are taken off because I'm not, at this time, taking on any new clients. So, 2 most important things in life, paying attention and putting effort. So paying attention on that, you will see that I've got a disclaimer that says I'm not doing those things. So I'm not giving the Aruda Lugna and the lockdown package, which is why I've dropped it in price. Okay? Scuba Gamer question. Are spots as an apprentice still available? Well, again, if you go to thunderwizard.com, you'll see. So once again, putting effort and paying attention. Go and check it out. If there isn't any available, then it'll say that there's however many are available or not. So I welcome you to look at it. It's always a first come, first serve, and I'm sorry, but I just don't have time to monitor everything like that. And just keep, if there isn't a spot available, just keep looking, because every now and then somebody will drop out. Is that it? Oh, Scuba Gamer question. Is practicing your free 15-minute owned exercise recommended on a long-term basis, or is your celestial Qigong exercise ultimately the best source of empowerment complemented by the Hool breath? I mean, yeah, if you're going to ask me which one are you asking me, is doing the 15-minute owned exercise going to be as powerful as the celestial Qigong? No. But does that mean that you won't get anything from it? No. If you want to get the celestial Qigong, I suggest you get it. You're worrying about money, and that's what I'm getting from this. You're worried about money. My feeling is, you should always get whatever the heck it is you want. And if what you want is the celestial Qigong, and you've got to save up for it, then save up for it. And in the meantime, you can do any of the free exercises. Okay, so there's free Qigong on this channel, and there's no shortage of Qigong. But yeah, I mean, the celestial Qigong is, as I've said, the most powerful energy practice anybody can learn on video. Anything more powerful than that, you've got to learn it in person. Okay, let's see. What else? Let's see. And Vincent says if you'd like a Vedic astrology reading, which he can give you an Aruda Lagna reading, which is I think what he's saying here. Vince. So Vince, type in your website so that people can log on to your website and get a reading from you. Vince is one of my astrology apprentices, so he'll give you the same thing that I'll give you if you were to get a Aruda Lagna reading from me. Thank you for sharing that, Vince. All right, let's keep going. Indo-European mythology and the creation myths. The creation mythology of the pre-Christian Norse people and the ancient Vedic tribes of India have striking similarities which cannot be ignored. While there are some notable differences, we can see a very clear Proto-Indo-European source mythology for the creation of the cosmos from which both of these traditions arose. What this indicates to me is that both the Vedic and Norse traditions are very possibly derived from a prehistoric Proto-Indo-European root tradition that stretches back perhaps 50,000 years to the first Proto-Indo-European settlers of the Northern Hemisphere. I'm being conservative there. I would take out the phrase very possibly and I would put in the word definitely. Norse traditions are definitely derived from both Vedic and Norse traditions are definitely derived from a prehistoric Proto-Indo-European root tradition. No doubt about it. According to pre-Christian Norse mythology, the cosmos existed in emptiness and had no definition. Over time, the void of the pre-creation began to separate into two primordial realms of fire and water. These worlds were called the home of mist, Niflheim, located in the north, and the home of fire, Muspelheim, located in the south. In the center was a vast and frightening vacuum-filled void full of raw, unmanifested potential called the Yawning Chasm, or Ginnungagap. Sparks of primordial fire from the fire home and drops of primordial water from the mist home were slowly sucked into the yawning chasm. Sparks of the primordial fire and drops of primordial water began to coalesce and interact, creating the first being, an immense giant named Ymir. Ymir in Old Norse language is etymologically related to the name of the Vedic god of death called Yama. So let's take a look at that. Ymir, Norse, Yama, Vedic. Yama is known as the first person to die. Because he was the first being in the cosmos to die, he therefore was given mastery over death. Ymir in Norse mythology is also the first being to die when he is dismembered by the gods Odin, Vili, and Ve, and his body used to create the physical manifested cosmos. The words Ymir and Yama come from the Proto-Indo-European word Yemosh, which means twin. Yemos. Gemini. Yemos, Yemeni, Gemini. Same word. The dual twin aspect of Ymir is revealed when his 2 feet mate with each other to create a many-headed giant from which the race of giants are born. Out of his armpits, Ymir sweats out the primordial essences of male and female, or as the Taoists would call it, the forces of yin, female, and yang, male. The twin or mirror effect is seen in that out of Ymir's left armpit comes the masculine essence, and out of his right armpit comes the feminine essence. So if you're looking at Ymir, right, then his left is your right and his right is your left. So as it so happens in the human body, on this side of the mirror, the masculine is here and the feminine is here. But since we're mirroring, the primordial essence, which, we're looking at it, his experience, Ymir, is opposite. He has, his right is feminine and his left is masculine. And that also happens to be connected with the brain as well, because it is the right brain which is connected to the left arm, which is the feminine, the creative, the emotional, the intuitive, whereas the right arm is associated with the left brain, and the left brain is analytical, intellectual, judgmental, right? So we can just all the correlations there. I found that when I found that out, I found that to be really interesting. That Ymir was a mirror. We were looking at a mirror image of ourselves, like the perfect mirror image of, all of creation that had come together in this thing called Ymir or Yemosh. There we go. All right. This is significant because the right side of the human body is, I just said that. The right side of the human body is associated with the left brain, the discerning faculty, the masculine, and the left side of the body is associated with the right brain, the intuitive feminine. But in Ymir's body, we see a mirror or twin reflection of how masculine and feminine are manifested in the cosmos. In Ymir's body, the left side is masculine, the right side is feminine, or perhaps it is we who are the mirrored reflection of the primordial. In either case, we see another aspect of Ymir's dual nature. Meanwhile, out of the primordial ice, concentrated potential, there arose the cow of sustenance named Audhumbla. Ymir suckled primordial milk from Audhumla's teats. While Ymir was suckling the milk from Audhumla, she herself was licking from a salty block of ice, which revealed the first of the primordial deities to arise, named Buri, or the producer, which is cognate with Brahma. So Buri means producer. I think it's Brahma. Bri or Brahma. Anyway. But Brahma would be the same thing, and Brahma means the same thing. It's the creator. Buri gave birth to the celestial deities known as the Aesir. The word Aesir is etymologically related to the Indo-European words Ahura in the Avestian or the Persian and Asura in the Sanskrit. So Aesir, Norse, Ahura, I didn't say that, Ahura in the Persian, and Asura in Vedic. I'm probably going to get into this now in the book, but I can't I can't resist talking about it. There was a shift in Vedic. I think there was also a shift in the Avestan as well, but in the Vedic, in the Sanskrit, they shifted the meanings of the words. Originally, Asura meant gods. It meant celestial power. And then later it became associated with what in the Norse would call the Vanir. So the Devis versus the Asuras is exactly the same as the Aesir versus the Vanir. The only difference is that the Vedic, when they used to use the word Asura, it used to mean the gods. Like Indra is an Asura. It doesn't mean demon at all. I forgot. I talk about this in other videos, but nowadays Hindus will break up the syllables of Asura to make it look like not God or something like that. So meaning demon. But in actuality, that's not how the word was put together. I believe it was Asura, which meant something like the fire of breath or something like that, if I'm remembering correctly. So, in Germanic, it comes from the root os, which is sometimes pronounced os, and it means simply celestial. Celestial deity. And so that's pretty much the same. You've got the Asura, the breath of fire, because what are stars made of? They're made of fire. Okay. All of these words can be translated into being of power. The Hindus have associated the Asuras with the earthly deities similar to the Vanir of Norse mythology, while the Devas have been associated with celestial deities. But originally in Vedic time, the word Asura was used for any deity, whether they be earthly or celestial. The Devas were simply a subset of the Asuras. The Norse language retains the original Indo-European root meaning of the word reflected in the word Aesir. So that's feminine. Deva. So Deva comes from the same root word as the god Tiu or Tyr. Comes from the root D, which means sky. So all of the gods in Indo-European at some point, I won't get into all of it, but at some point, whether it's Vedic, whether it's Greek, Roman, Norse, you will be able to find that the head god was called the Sky Father. That's always the case. In Vedic, it's Deus Pitta, Sky Father. In Latin, it's Diu Piter, Sky Father. In Greek, he was you know of him as Zeus, but that's actually the vocative. His name is just simply Di. So the Greek holds actually the actual root. The closest thing to the root for the sky is in Greek, Di, but they called him Zeus. All right, let's keep going. The Old Norse word buri, or producer, is related to the Sanskrit word Brahma, which is the Vedic god of creation who produces all of manifested creation. Buri had 3 grandsons named Furious Awareness, Odin, Willpower, Vili, and Sacred Space, Ve. So Odin, Vili, and Ve are the grandsons of Buri. These celestial brothers engaged Ymir in battle and slew him. These 3 deities then dismembered Ymir's corpse and used it to create and delineate all of physical manifested reality. Ymir's blood became the oceans, his bones became the mountains, his hair became the trees, his brains became the clouds. Odin, Vili, and Ve are specifically associated with human awareness. It is these 3 deities who gave the first humans their life, Odin, spirit, Vili, and awareness, Ve. What this part of the Norse myth is saying is that the three human faculties of awareness, intent, and perception delineate and create our visible universe where we live. Without the three properties of awareness, intent, and perception, we humans would not be able to perceive or experience three-dimensional reality. Vedic mythology portrays a very similar version of the creation myth. The 4,000-year-old Rig Veda also speaks of a titanic being called the Purusha, who is sacrificed by the celestial gods in order to create the manifested cosmos. And here I quote from the Rig Veda. Quote, "When they divided the Purusha, into how many parts did they disperse him? The moon was born from his mind, the sun was born from his eye. From his navel the atmosphere was born, from his head the heaven appeared. From his 2 feet came the earth and the regions of the sky from his ear. Thus they, the celestial gods, fashioned the worlds, when the gods, spreading the sacrifice, bound down the Purusha as the sacrificial beast." So you can see that this is clearly the same myth. You know, there's some variations, but same idea. Odin, Vili, and Ve take Ymir, tear him to pieces, and use his different parts to create the universe. Vedic mythology, the gods tear apart the Purusha and sacrifice him in order to create the manifested cosmos. The war between giants and gods in Norse mythology. It is important to define the difference between the giants, or the Jotuns, and the celestial deities, the Aesir. The giants represent the titanic forces of the laws of macroscale physics, gravity, time, entropy, etc. These forces have very, very little awareness of tiny beings like humans. They are the titans of Greek mythology. They are perceived by us as being aggressive towards humans, but in reality, the giants are just massive forces of nature that are following their inherent natures and are not necessarily seeking to harm us. The celestial deities, on the other hand, are closely linked to conscious awareness and have a vested interest in the formation and protection of all conscious life. So the Aesir have an agenda to promote, protect, and extend conscious existence. When conscious life comes into conflict with the laws of physics, the Aesir seek to battle the destructive forces of the universe that tend to work against life. A good example of the gods battling the forces of physics is exemplified in the deity of lightning and thunder. And since we are seeking to learn thunder shamanism, it is appropriate that we look at how the forces of nature protect life. The Vedic version of the thunder god is Indra. The Norse version is Thor. In physics, the thunder god is represented as the electromagnetic force. In Vedic mythology, it says that the sun sits in the east and worships Indra for long life. As it so happens, inside the sun, the massive gravity inside its core crushes hydrogen molecules, fusing them together. This nuclear fusion results in the explosive energy of heat and light. However, the electromagnetic force, which is 1 to the 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 33, 36. The electromagnetic force is 1 to the 36th power times stronger than the force of gravity. It can't stop gravity, but it slows it down. The result is that the sun would burn itself out much more quickly without the electromagnetic force to slow down the process of nuclear fusion. So in a very real sense, the Vedic shamans were correct when they observed that it is the power of electromagnetism that gives long life to the sun. As in the mythology, the god of electromagnetism works tirelessly to protect the source of all nourishment, the sun, from the destructive influence of the titanic force of gravity. In Norse mythology, Thor is constantly off in the east, in the giant home, fighting the giants and protecting both the gods and humans from their destructive effects. The talismanic symbol for Thor is the Thurisaz rune, which is a rune of protection. Thor protects humans and drives away destructive forces from them. Similarly, the electromagnetic force creates a tiny but impenetrable barrier between molecules. This invisible barrier is what keeps me from sinking through my chair as I write this or narrate this, and being pulled to the center of the earth and crushed by gravity. Thor is said to be the protector of the gods, the realm of Midgard, and specifically of humans. He fights against gravity, old age, and time. In a very real sense, this is true. Everything we interact with in three-dimensional reality is encased and protected by the electromagnetic field. In this way, Thor is constantly fighting against the giants. He never completely defeats them, but without him, we would be annihilated by the sheer force of the effects of gravity, time, old age, decay, etc. This power to protect conscious life is what we Thunder Shamans seek to promote and channel through our spiritual work. There are two types of giants in Norse mythology, the Jotuns and the Trolls. The Jotuns we have already discussed. The Trolls are like mini Jotuns who are aggressive and destructive to humans. They are the giant beings of fairy tales that go around stomping through villages, taking people hostage, killing and eating people, etc. These beings represent mindless, unconscious expansion of life force. Aggressive, narcissistic people who cause havoc in other people's lives without taking responsibility for their own actions or acting from their troll nature. The gods have declared an ongoing state of war against the trolls. This battle represents the forces of conscious evolution struggling against the forces of chaos within the human beings. It is like the battle of our frontal cortex as it seeks to evolve beyond our reptilian brainstem. By seeking the aid of the celestial deities, we are more able to gain control of our baser instincts and strive for higher spiritual evolution. All right, and then let's see. Then I talk about dwarves, but let's see if there are any questions here that I didn't get to. Quantum timeline. I think I know who you might be. If I'm right, I've got you on a very short leash. If I'm wrong, I don't know. But if you are who I think you are, you're on a very short leash, my friend. So make sure that you ask good questions. Question: what if somebody decides to do none of these practices? What would their life path? I mean, what am I supposed to do with that question? The whole point of what I've done is to create practices that allow people to directly connect to life force energy. So I don't know, and it doesn't matter. I don't care. Why aren't you asking me a question about which one you're practicing and what it can do? I mean, really, is that question really helpful? Like I said, you're on a short leash there, my friend. All right, I don't see any other questions. Let's keep going. Dwarves, masters of magic. According to Norse mythology, out of the leftover ambient life force energy found in Ymir's blood, the celestial gods created humanoid beings which laid the foundation for the essence of all psychological and emotional awareness. These humanoid beings of life force energy create the infrastructure of emotional and psychological patterns of all conscious incarnated life. These beings have the power to channel life force energy into emotions and use this power to create matter. These beings are masters of creating and manifesting with their intent through life force energy. These beings are the first masters of magic. These beings were called dwarves in Norse mythology. The dwarves are relevant to the thunder wheel because of the four cardinal directions of north, south, east, and west, which are the names of dwarves created by the celestial deities when mapping out the cosmos. This indicates that the cardinal directions are conscious, magical entities. Dwarves are also important to shamans because all human psychological and emotional patterns are derived from the emotional and psychological infrastructure created by the first dwarves. Many of the names of the first dwarves are names of human emotions and psychological traits. A few dwarf names are magician, yearning, longing, wisdom, hope, and will. Remember that dwarves are nothing more than beings of pure life force energy which were fashioned into humanoid form by the celestial gods. They were not human, but humanoid. They were the molds through which human emotional and psychological patterns are given to incarnated people. Humans are infinite eternal souls who have at their core the essence of the celestial deities. The word soul is derived from the Anglo-Saxon word soul, which literally means sun. Actually, Sawal is very close to the original Indo-European. And as you can see, Sawal looks exactly like soul. That's because it is the same. Sawal was just the old way of spelling it, and now we've taken that W-U-L sound and just turned it into a U sound, soul. But the soul is the sun. Our souls are little suns. Human beings are stars encased in flesh. In order to be incarnated as humans, we need to superimpose emotional and psychological patterns onto our soul consciousness in order to better interface with material reality. In other words, in order to interface with limited three-dimensional reality, we have to have limited framework of expression and experience, which is what emotions are. We think our emotions are our soul, and there's a strong connection with our emotions and helps us connect to our soul, but our soul is beyond that. The closest, if you want to find one emotion that is the most closely associated with the soul, it would be joy. So if you want to get close to your soul, you want to operate from your soul, find the joy. Get rid of everything that stands between you and joy, because that, whatever it is, because people avoid that. And, when I was a kid, especially in church, we can't just be happy all the time. We've got a lot of hard work. We got, and I don't think that's the case. We're here to be full of joy all the time. If you take joy in your hard work, then great. But any guilt that says, okay, now you got to go to work, and now you got to go do this, and now you got to be like that, that can often be used as a way to avoid your soul. Again, I'm not saying that there aren't things that have to be dealt with in three-dimensional reality, but our focus should be our own joy. It's really the only reason you're here, is just to have joy. If you're not willing to do that, then your life is just going to be pretty much a waste. Don't waste your life. Have fun. Without this power of the dwarves imposed upon our soul awareness, we would have no desires, and in effect, we would sit around all day lost in the bliss of our divine celestial essence, desiring nothing and doing nothing. The desires, emotions, and psychological patterns given to us by our humanoid dwarf natures allow us to strive, to interact, and to create our three-dimensional lives. This means that it is through channeling life force energy of our human emotions with the power of desire, focused by intent, that we humans create our reality. In order to truly understand the power of magic and shamanism, one must first become a human. If you are called to be a shaman, one main reason you incarnated into physical life was so that you could experience human emotions and learn to master them. Because it is only through the focusing of life force energy channeled by intent, fueled by emotions, that shamans, sorcerers, and magicians can effect change in the physical world. Coincidentally, the Old English word for sorcery was dvergamal, which translates into dwarf speak. So does this word mean that a sorcerer creates magic by speaking his command to his dwarves who fulfill his wishes? Or does it mean that the sorcerer understands the secret language of dwarves and cooperates with them to manipulate reality? Either way, dwarves apparently play an important role in magic and shamanism. The four cardinal directions in Norse myth. Okay, so back to the creation myth and its relevance to the thunder wheel. Remember, we are told that north is the realm of primordial waters and south is the realm of primordial fire. So what about east and west? Jotunheim, Giantholm, east. We are told of a primordial forest called Ironwood, deep within Giantholm, east of Midgard or Middle Earth. Vanaheim, or Wain's home, in the west. Besides the celestial gods, the Aesir, Norse mythology also prominently features the elder gods of fertility known as the Vanir. The Vanir live in the west, in a place called Vanaheim. Midgard, Middle Earth, center. In the center of these worlds is the middle yard, or Midgard, middle earth, middle fortress, where humans live. The placement of the psychological realms. Norse mythology is very clear about the location of these first 5 worlds, which encompass the 5 realms of north, south, east, west, and center within the cardinal wheel, or what you may know as the Celtic cross. Since the realms of the cardinal wheel have a strong correlation to manifested physical reality, it makes sense that Norse mythology would clearly state their physical location. The other 4 worlds, or psychological realms, are not clearly stated in Norse mythology. Since these realms have less correlation with physical manifested reality, it makes sense that there would be less need to state a physical location for their placement. So, how can we deduce the physical placement of the 4 realms of the psychological wheel? These remaining 4 worlds in Norse mythology are known as Asgard, Light Elf Home, Hell Home, and Dwarf Home. So, what I'm getting to here is I guess I'm going to put some pictures in the book. But so we've got the Celtic cross, right, which is the 4 directions: north, south, east, and west. This cross, that same equilateral cross, that symbol is the ancient Chinese symbol for shaman. And why is that? Because a shaman balances the things in the physical realm. So, working with storms, working with the elements. So the elements are in those 5 directions: north, south, east, and west, and center. And also, medieval Christian priests would walk around with a Celtic cross. The reason why they used a Celtic cross was because it was a holdover from earlier times when a shaman would walk around and deal with balancing the 4 directions. So that's why they use that. So I'm not sure what I'm getting at here in this book. It's been a long time since I wrote it, so I'm trying to figure out. So now I need you to take a look at, imagine the 4 directions, so a Celtic cross going like this, and then just take now the diagonal directions, which look like an X. So those are what I'm calling the psychological directions. So the point I was making is that while in some other indigenous traditions, they do, like the Bagua, they do point out what's in the other directions. Same thing in the Vedic tradition. But the Norse didn't do that because I believe they were more concerned with being balanced in the physical realm. So they didn't, in their mythology, they didn't say exactly where these other 4 places were. But I think it's fairly easy to deduce that just by looking at the other traditions. So the placement I have for that, which I'll get to, the northwest is Elf Home, the northeast is Asgard, the southeast is Dwarf Home, and the southwest is Hell Home. Right? These are not like the other 4 directions, which are literal 4 directions which have to do with the 5 elements, which balance physical matter. These are directions that are associated with psychological, spiritual essences, and so they function on that level as well. While Norse mythology does not directly state the placement of the psychological realms in terms of a direction wheel, we can easily deduce their locations by determining the corresponding energetic qualities of these directions found within both the Indo-European Vedic Dig Chakra, or direction wheel, and with the Taoist Bagua, or the 8 gates. Note that the Bagua is inversed with south at the top and north at the bottom. So I've got a picture here of the Bagua, and I've got the different, let's see, so in the northeast, they have written knowledge and spirituality, which would be the same as Asgard. In the southwest, they have relationships, marriage. So relationships is a human thing. In fact, let me take a look at the rune wheel while I'm thinking about that. Yep, and in the southeast you have Yeda, which is relationships. I see. I'm not making this stuff up. I just now made that correlation. That in the Bagua, the southeast is called relationships. And what is one of the runes in the rune wheel? Where is it placed? right there in the southeast. And in the, let's see, what am I looking at here? That's northeast. So northwest, we have the elves. And in the Bagua, the northwest is helpful people. I couldn't make this stuff up. Again, it's clear that these are not coming from the same tradition. Like somebody from China didn't go to Iceland or vice versa. They're coming to this conclusion all on their own. They're coming to these same conclusions independently, which is why I think it's which is why it's a science. It's an energetic spiritual science. All right, let's see, where was I? Right. The ancient indigenous shamanic path of China is Taoism. The Taoists use the 8-sided direction wheel perhaps more than any other tradition on the planet. It is used for shamanic ritual, feng shui, medicine, martial arts, and more. While the Taoist tradition is not Indo-European, they share the same understanding of the nature of the 8 directions as do the indigenous Indo-European shamanic traditions. If the similarity between the Norse and the Vedic traditions wasn't enough, comparing them to the Taoist tradition will add even more credibility to the understanding that the qualities of the 8-sided shamanic direction wheel is an objective spiritual science and is not limited to cultural or ethnic peculiarities. The diagonal psychological directions in the Bagua, in the Taoist post-heaven Bagua symbol, the northeast Ken is the realm of mountain, which vibrates with the highest spirituality. And the northeast is where we put Asgard, which would be the same as Mount Olympus. Mount Olympus is where the gods sit. The southwest is the realm of the deepest earth, Kun, and resonates with the forces of mother and rebirth. The northwest Chen is the realm of heaven, which resonates with mentors and helpful advice. The southeast Sun is wind and is often referred to as the human door, which resonates prosperity, wealth, and abundance, as well as the properties of the human subconscious. When we compare the placement of the energetic qualities in the diagonal gates of the Bagua with the Norse psychological worlds of the world tree, the correlation seems clear. And then I have another picture here of a thunder wheel, and then I have in the northeast ethereal masters, the northwest ethereal masters, northeast realm of the gods, southeast subconscious forces, southwest underworld forces, or unconscious forces. The ethereal realm of mountain in the northwest is strikingly similar to the Norse world of Asgard. The northwestern realm of heaven, from where the helpful advice of the enlightened ones emanates, is reminiscent of the Norse realm of the ascended masters, or the elves of the light elf home. The realm of deepest earth in the southwest correlates with Helholm, the underworld, and the human door in the southeast corresponds with the Norse dwarf home realm of the subconscious. And then I have a Vedic deity placement on the thunder wheel, so I guess let's go ahead and do that. So now let's look at the placement of deities in the Vedic astrological direction wheel, or Dig Chakra, so we can compare their understanding of the energetic qualities of directions with both the Taoist Bagua and the Norse direction wheel. In the north you have Kubera. In the northeast you have Ishana Shiva. East is Indra. Southeast is Agni. South is Yama. Southwest is Niruti. West is Varuna, and northwest is Vayu. North, Kubera, Mercury. Kubera is the god of riches. In this case, riches can be likened to resource potential. So the planet Mercury is in the north. Northeast, Ishana Shiva, planet Jupiter. Ishana means ruler. In this case, it refers to the highest spiritual principle and ruler of the gods. East, Indra, planet is sun. Indra is the god of lightning and thunder, the force of electromagnetism, the first principle of life force energy. Sun is also the planet of the ego. And so Thor is a god who preserves the boundaries of the ego. You can't have a powerful ego if you don't have a powerful sun. Southeast, Agni, or Venus. Agni is the Vedic god who is lord of the spiritual fire used in sacrifices that carries the smoke, the prayers and the meditations of human sacrifices to the heavens. South is Yama, planet Mars. Yama is the god of death or transformation. Southwest, Niruti, north node of the moon. Niruti is a demoness of the underworld. West, Varuna, planet Saturn. Varuna is the Vedic god of the waters of fertility. Northwest, Vayu, moon. Vayu is the god of the air or the atmosphere and the sky. And here, and then I've got what I call a planetary thunder wheel, which has what I just talked about with all of the planets in each of the 8 directions. North is lorded by the god Kubera, the god of riches, and the planet Mercury. In the Vedic understanding, riches are derived from the accumulation of potential resources. The Bhagwa represents the north as the realm of the successful career. See? I couldn't make this up. It's so different and yet the same, right? They're not using the same words that I am, but it comes back to the same thing. The north is the same thing as the god Kubera, the god of riches. Although the cultural symbolism is slightly different between the Vedic and Taoist understandings, the Norse version bridges the gap where the element of water is clearly attested to in Norse mythology as residing in the northern direction. This is in complete agreement with the Taoist placement of the water element. The northeast is lorded by the god Ishana Shiva, the ruler of the gods and the planet Jupiter. Vedic myth says he resides on top of Mount Kailash. The correlation of the Taoist ethereal northeastern realm of mountain is undeniable. If the Norse realm of Asgard, where the Allfather sits on his divine throne, is compared with the Vedic and Taoist versions of the qualities of the northeastern direction, there is only one logical direction for the placement of Asgard, the northeast. The east is lorded by the god Indra and the sun. Indra is the god of thunder and lightning. The Taoists often refer to the east as the realm of thunder. The Norse mythological tradition associates the eastern realm with the thunder god Thor, the half-god, half-giant who constantly battles with giants in the east. So there's no argument here. Deities of lightning and thunder reside in the east. Southeastern realm is lorded by Agni, the Vedic god of sacrificial fire, and the planet Venus. Agni is not to be confused solely with physical fire. In Proto-Indo-European languages, there were always 2 words for fire. One word, pur, spelled P-Y-R, or pronounced in English, fire, was the external physical force of fire. The second word for fire, now mostly forgotten in modern Indo-European languages, was the internal spiritual force of fire. Agni in the Sanskrit, Igni in Greek and Latin, Ing in Proto-Germanic. It is this spiritual fire which is directly connected to fire sacrifices performed by humans which allow them to receive divine inspiration to achieve their highest potential. In yogic meditation, the internal spiritual fire is known as Kundalini, which is associated with human spiritual awakening of the latent human potential. In the Norse tradition, it is the uniquely human aspect of the dwarf nature that allows them to achieve the human state. The Taoist tradition calls this direction the human door. While the associations may be somewhat unclear on a superficial comparison, the underlying connections seem to agree that the best placement for the Norse world of the dwarf home is in the southeast. The Vedic god lording the southern direction is Yama, the god of death. The planet associated with this direction is Mars, the planet of war and death, who is associated with the element of fire. The Norse mythology is very clear that the south is the realm of fire. The planet associated with the southwest is the north node of the moon. By the way, the south is also the realm of the ultimate god of destruction, who is the demon Surt, who is nothing more than just the force of entropy, which will end up destroying this material universe. The planet associated with the southwest is the north node of the moon named Rahu, who is the head of the decapitated dragon. The Vedic goddess lording the southwestern direction is Niruti, who is a demoness of the underworld representing the unconscious human attachments that must be released in order to attain liberation from the cycle of death and rebirth. The Taoists see this direction as the realm of the deepest earth and of the motherly influence. In Norse tradition, the underworld is guarded by the goddess Hela, who is the daughter of the god Loki. She combines the essence of both the Taoist and Vedic versions by integrating a goddess of the underworld, or a demon, with the deepest earthly form of the mother, a nurturing feminine deity who assists in rebirth. So the only logical location for the Norse underworld of hell is the southwest. The west is lorded by the planet Saturn. The Vedic god of the west is named Varuna, the god of the waters of the ocean. The Norse tradition is clear about the western realm, which is lorded by the god of the ocean, whose name is Njord. Njord is classified as a member of the Vanir, the earthly gods of fertility, who often fight with the celestial gods. The Vanir are clearly located in the west in Norse mythology, so the realm of Vanaheim in the west is quite clear. The Vedic god of the northwest is Vayu, the god of the wind. The planet associated with this direction is the moon. The Taoists associate this direction with helpful advice. The moon is understood to be symbolic of the highest reflection of the divine human mind. If the southeast is the realm of the essence of the human mind and the northwest is the realm of the helpful advice and the divine mind, then the only logical placement for the Norse world of the light elves is in the northwest. The center is representative of the earth, meaning the earth upon which we stand. So the Norse world of Middle Earth can be in no other location than in the middle of the thunder wheel, the center. It may be slightly difficult at first to see the correlations into the psychological realms, but if we peer beneath the veneer of superficial mythological symbolism in these different cultures, the underlying energies of each of the directions becomes clear. It is just too coincidental, in my opinion, for these three very ancient and different ethnic, linguistic, and cultural traditions to have essentially the same understanding about the energetic qualities of each direction. In fact, under the surface, these mythological definitions correlate with each other, indicates that this common understanding about the quality of energies in these directions is a result of objective observation. In other words, this is a spiritual science that reflects objective laws of life force energy that can be observed by anyone who is without personal agenda and has the ability to objectively discern spiritual energies. If there is this degree of agreement among these culturally diverse traditions in terms of the energetic qualities of all 9 realms, then we can safely deduce that there exists an objective spiritual science of life force energy as reflected in the 8-sided shamanic direction wheel. Since the qualities of the directions in the Taoist, Vedic, and Norse traditions all share striking similarities, then I think we will have discovered a universally applicable medicine wheel which seems to reflect objective laws of life force energy as expressed in the 8 directions and the 9 worlds of the world tree, which can be accessed by anyone of any culture or time period. Reconstructed Norse world tree direction wheel. Based on my personal experience working with the 8 directions and the 9 worlds, combined with my research into other shamanic direction wheels, I have constructed this wheel for placement of the 9 worlds of the Norse world tree. Understanding the nature of the directions is helpful when channeling different energies of the directions. So you've got to be well versed in it by now. I mean, I use it secondhand. I don't even talk about it. Part of this book was to help you understand how I came to reconstruct this. So unlike there's some neo-heathen stuff out there, which is, some of it's good, some of it's horrible, but some of those teachers, like the one guy who's seen as the modern father of rune, whatever, in neo-heathenism, some of you know who I'm talking about. He doesn't give any background for why he puts things where they are, and he just throws things together and says this is this and that is that, and it's clearly his own reconstruction, but he doesn't say why. So I want to make sure that I'm transparent, in how I came to these conclusions, and you don't have to just take my word for it. In fact, I hope you don't. I hope you do your own research. And if you do your own research, I'm pretty sure you're going to come to the same conclusion as me. If you're using, like I do, I look at it as a science. So I look at multiple indigenous spiritual practices. Where things line up, I say that is a science. That is something that shamans are finding independently because of their ability to connect with the energetic world. So the 9 worlds of the world tree: north, mist home; northeast, Asgard; east, giant home; southeast, dwarf home; south, fire home; southwest, hell home; west, Wayne's home; northwest, elf home; center, Midgard. All right, let's see. Okay, I think I want to stop for now. So I'll stop right there for now, which is on page 48. And let's see if there's any more questions. Quantum timeline question. If everything is ruled by some dirty, I think you mean deity, if everything is ruled by some deity and each place has its own property, it's more like we, is that a question? It's almost like we talk about gods and properties. What are we, just observers and consumers of other properties, or do we have an actual purpose? Quantum, I'm getting annoyed. I don't really know what you're asking. You know, these are all very intellectual questions. I don't see the point in them. You know, I mean, what is it that you want me to say? Are we, you know, I mean, do you sit around thinking about the function of air and oxygen in your lungs? What is the point of this question? If everything is ruled by some deity and each place has its own property, it's more like we always talk about gods and properties. What are we, just observers and consumers of other properties, or do we have an actual purpose by default? How did you come to that conclusion that we somehow don't have a purpose? What this tells me is that you don't do energy work. Because if you did do energy work, you would know that by facing a certain direction, you would feel a certain energy. You know, the sun rises in the east. When you wake up in the morning, if you want the heat of the sun, you have to face east. If you're facing west, looking for the rising sun in the morning, you're going to feel it on your back, and you're not going to have an experience. You clearly don't have an experience of the energies of the directions, or you wouldn't be asking these intellectual questions. This is why, you know, you asked earlier, what if nobody does these things? Well, when nobody does these things, this is what happens. You're lost in this intellectual haze of not knowing what the hell any of it means. How does it apply to you? That's what you're asking. How does this apply to me? You're not going to know that unless you do the work. So I would go onto the channel, since you have access to the free channel, and I would start doing the work. If you really want to be, if you want to be led from A to Z, then go to thunderwizard.com and subscribe at the $25 level and follow the directions from the beginning to the end, because I take you from A to Z to have an experience. So all this intellectual talk means nothing. Now you've answered your own question. When you don't do the work, you end up just confused and not knowing what any of it, how it applies. So go do the work. This is why I say, you know, these question and answers are for people who do the work. Because people who do the work, they're going to have questions related to their practical experience of doing the energy exercises. When they do the energy exercises, then they come back and they say, hey, when I'm facing the southwest and doing the Hool breath, like you said, you know, should I be focusing on my palms? Or because when I do it, I feel this energy. They have a question based on experience, which means that their question has substance to it. They're not just, you know, are we just a property, or are we an observer? Okay? So make use of it. Make use of the exercises. That's really the point of this whole channel, is to get you doing the work and to have an experience and to have an energetic and psychological shift. I'm not just here to talk. Okay? All right. I don't see any more questions here, so I'm going to do some business. Lockdown.thunderwizard.com. Let me get rid of that thing in case it's blocking my face. Get rid of the thunder wheel for a moment. Lockdown.thunderwizard.com. Somebody asked about that. So that is, I give you access to all of my my teaching, my video teachings. I give you that I have control over all of the certifications. Basically, everything that I have in video form that the courses that I give that I have control over in terms of the income is that. Please don't get the lockdown package and then say, I want to trade that for a subscription, or I want to trade it for, please don't do that. That's happened a couple times, and one woman, I don't know where she was, you know, bought, anyway, ended up doing that and then ended up complaining to PayPal afterwards when I wouldn't give her what she wanted. It was like, why did you waste my time with that? I had to give her her money back after having given it to her. It was really annoying. So please don't do that. I've reduced the price, but you still end up getting a $2,000 value. I think you're going to save $2,000 from doing that. So it's a $2,000 saving. It's everything that I have basically handed to you for nothing. And if you're in the lockdown and you're looking for a way to make money and you've thought about being an astrologer or a rune reader or some kind of spiritual practitioner, I've got 3 possibilities that you can turn into businesses, which I do. One is Vedic astrological readings. The other is rune readings. You can learn my style of rune readings. And then 3, you can become a life coach, because I teach you how to help people find their perfect career. Okay, so those things, and then with everything else, you can go check it out. Just go there and check it out. Thunderwizard.com, like Quantum Timeline. I think Quantum Timeline should subscribe at the $25 level, because he'll be able to follow the very specific instruction I give in the Mastery of Shamanism course. I teach it from A to Z, how to do rituals, how to do mantra, how to work with energy, how to work with the directions, all that kind of stuff. And then there's the Manifestation Mastery course, which I give you specific instructions on how to manifest the life of your dreams. In order to manifest your world, you have to know the laws of the non-physical universe. There are certain laws about how things work. And most people, especially people who follow the law of attraction, they've got most of it wrong. You're getting bad information that's leading you down a wrong path. But when you know what exactly the rules are and what you have to do to get the universe to respond, it will respond to you every time. You just have to know what those are. So that is in the Manifestation Mastery course. Those can be found at thunderwizard.com, and that's the main engine that keeps this channel going. So even if you just are looking for a way to support the channel, subscribe there. Then you've got courses.thunderwizard.com, which has my books and DVDs and everything else, which can be found at the lockdown package. Almost everything is in the lockdown package. Now, if you want to achieve enlightenment and you never have to worry about being reincarnated, there is one thing you have to do. Listen to me very carefully. If you do this one thing, you will achieve enlightenment, and everything will be wonderful for the rest of time. And that is to subscribe and hit the bell button. When you hit the bell button, you will have achieved total, complete perfection and enlightenment. You'll never have to worry about anything ever again in this life or in future lives. All right, that's it for me. See if any questions have come up. This is live Black Earth Productions. Nice to see you. I'm just getting ready to walk away, though. I've been here for a little bit. Let's see. Quantum Timeline, what are you doing, man? Here comes the confusers. Why do you have to be like that? Who are you talking about? If you limit your stuff to questions, like I said, you're on a short leash. I'm pretty sure I know who you are, and I think I blocked you you had a different username, and I blocked you for good reason. So if you don't want to get blocked again, you're gonna have to show me that you're not a troublemaker. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thanks to everybody. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy. Black Earth Productions, you can say hello to him. He's got a YouTube channel of his own, Black Earth Productions, and he's got a website, blackearthproductionswithaz.com. All right, that's it. And again, Vince, you didn't give out is it just vince.thunderwizard.com? Is that you? Vince.thunderwizard.com. So he had suggested somebody wanted to know about how to get an Aruda reading, and Vince showed up and said, hey, you can get one from me. So I believe that's it. Let me double check. Let me double check. So Vince, whenever you come on to the live Q&A, just say, hey, I'm Vince and I do readings, and here's my website. Okay, you don't even have to ask. Just go do it. All right. Vince.thunderwizard.com. Let's check. Was that his? No, that wasn't it. So you have to tell us what your website is. All right, I'm gonna get that out of there because I was wrong about that. Did I put that in there? I did. Let me get rid of that. Delete, remove. All right, so that was wrong. All right, that's it. I don't see anything else. That's it for me, guys. I'm gonna go lie down because I've worked out legs yesterday and I'm tired. I have to go and eat some protein and get my rest. And I see you all next time.